Garrett Nussmeier, Lenora Sellers, Arch Manning, and Jake Merklinger. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC, a little crossover edition with our buddy Eric Cain, Locked On Vols, joining us. And look, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to Every Day, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And a reminder, today's episode brought to you by GameTime. You can download the GameTime app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, and get $20 off your first purchase. Eric Cain of Locked On Vols joining us here. Locked On SEC, Locked On Vols, and Eric, it's been a lot to talk about the last 72 hours. Take us through the timeline of how all this kind of transpired from your point of view. I talked to you Saturday morning as you were heading to the Orange and White spring game, and news was kind of spreading. I liked one of the guys tweeted out that he was on campus and interviewed a fan and said, "Hey, what are you looking forward to most?" And the fan said, seeing the throws that Nico Iamaleava is going to make. And you realize not everybody's on Twitter. Not everybody's on social media 24/7. So some people just didn't even know that Nico wasn't going to be there at the spring game. But take us through the timeline of how all this transpired through your eyes.
Yeah, just think about this. If you're not on social media there and you were going to the spring game, there was no way to know because the news hadn't, there's not a fresh newscast at 11 a.m., right? And there's not a newspaper clipping that, that early in the day. So, it's kind of wild. I did see that tweet you're referencing, and I'm just like, oh, man, shaking my head. It was wild, man. I mean, you always hear stuff. You always hear whispers. Always, in this industry. And, you heard a lot about Nico, but what actually transpired, I would never thought was going to happen. I mean, you saw Pete Nakos's, report on Thursday, and then you saw all the backlash and, from Nico's camp and, saying that that's not incorrect, that's incorrect, that's incorrect. And you're kind of sitting here like, well, I mean, I knew for a fact, his report was not incorrect, but it's it kind of seems like this is going to take care of itself, right? Well, doesn't show up to practice on Friday morning. And this is after on Thursday night, he's at Joey Halsey's house, his quarterback coach and OC, and they were having a position group get together. And I mean, he was there until I don't know what time, but he was there having dinner. I mean, there's a picture. I saw it. And then he doesn't show up to practice Friday morning. So at that point, it's it's over. It's done. No communication. Tennessee couldn't get a hold of him or anything. And, Josh Heupel pretty much said on Saturday after the Orange and White game, that's when he knew, this is done. This is over with. And then you had a couple of the reports from Chris Lowe of ESPN come out and, reporting what the Nico's camp wants in terms of money and dollar figure. And it's just astonishing. And how there's growing frustration with some of the players and admin and all this. And then it's spiraling at this point. And then, Saturday morning, Pete Thamel, puts the nail in the coffin. Boom, it's done. And it's wild, man. And it's obviously huge news for Tennessee. It's huge news for college football. I think Nico's a good kid. I think there's a lot of people around him that, are helping in this regard. But at the end of the day, you lift your teammates high and dry. And I think that's the frustrating part, where the frustration is for Nico and for Josh Heupel. I think Heupel at the end of the day understands where college football is now. He's not happy about it, but you left your teammates high and dry Friday morning, and that's just, all right, we're out, we're moving on, and that's kind of where Tennessee is.
Take me back through his recruitment, because I seem to remember, it was March, I want to say, 2022 when he committed to Tennessee. And were there any, from what you heard, any rumblings of tough discussions? I remember the news came out when he signed with Tennessee that, he's going to get in this big fat NIL deal and all this, but that was kind of becoming the norm across college football. But were there any signs of he was a pain in the butt to deal with, or his parents or his handler or whoever?
No, not that I remember. And I do want to make it a point. I'm not in the meeting room. I'm not on the practice field every day, so I'm not trying to act like I am here. But, for the most part, Nico was a nice, courteous kid. I think he was here. I think he was liked by his teammates. I think he worked hard. I think he was learning and trying to be a leader. Obviously, leaders don't do what he pulled, so I get that. But in all intents and purposes, Nico was, not a bad person to be around. And That's why, like, a lot of this, you kind of hate it for the player, but at the end of the day, again, he didn't show up to practice. But during his recruitment, no, I mean, you knew that he was, big time, because he had an entourage, and he lives in California, and he was coming to Tennessee games and coming to Tennessee junior days. It's like, man, like that, what a trip. But I mean, he wasn't just coming here. I mean, he was going all over the place, right? And I just remember him being a really, really big deal. And also, I respected the heck out of Tennessee, because that class, which fun exercise for you, and I'm sure you've already done it, that quarterback class, I've done it several times, even before Nico's departure. That quarterback class, Arch Manning is the only one that's still there at the place that he signed, right? As my voice is cracking, it's been a long couple of days.
And that's probably the one, if you'd have said, who's going to move from this class? People probably would have guessed, oh, Arch isn't going to stay put at Texas.
Yeah.
Like that would have been the one that you would have guessed would have moved.
Yeah, but Tennessee channeled in. They sought him. They wanted him. They channeled in. They got it done, and they got it done in March. And then he kind of helped build everything around him. But no, I didn't see any signs back then, but I did know that he was a big deal because, again, he had an entourage wherever he went.
Yeah, it is funny. Being from South Beach, California, like just outside LA.
Long Beach, yeah.
Or Long Beach, yeah. Palm trees everywhere and, riding the waves and all that, to the Smoky Mountains. Like, it had to be a little bit of a culture change and a little bit of a shock for him and his folks. But all right, so we turn the page. We'll circle back to Nico in a little bit, but the big question now is, where does Tennessee go? I mean, the spring game just ended. It's the middle of April. We are going into the summer months. This thing is either you're staying in house or you're bringing in somebody else to help compete. Where does Tennessee go? And I guess the big question, Eric, is Jake Merklinger. Is he ready to take over the reins as an SEC quarterback? He's 19 years old. He'll be 20 the week the season starts. But is he a guy that can take on this job?
It's when you need to go out and make the old call to Joe Flacco. It's like, hey, man, you want to come back? Or Josh McCown. Hey, come on now. Come on. We need you. Chad Henne. No, I mean, Tennessee absolutely has to get another quarterback. No choice. And Josh Heupel said that on Saturday. I mean, you have two scholarship quarterbacks. And Tennessee played with two scholarship quarterbacks a couple years ago, but your third was Gaston Moore, who, knew this offense better, aside from Joey Halsey and Josh Heupel, it was him. So you've got to have two. I mean, you have no experience and you have no veterans, and you only have two of them. So two scholarship quarterbacks. Tennessee's going to have to bring a guy in. Who's going to be in the portal this time? You and I were talking off air. You're seeing this guy jump in and this guy reported going to jump in. It's going to be moving the next couple of days. It's kind of fun and exciting. But there's not going to be any Nico Iamaleavas out there. Nobody better than him. Nobody as high profile as him. Nobody probably as experienced to the level of a college football playoff starting quarterback. I mean, it's April the 15th, man. Like, you do not want to lose your starting quarterback on April the 15th, but that's where Tennessee is. I'm intrigued to see kind of who they're going to get, but they will get somebody. In a perfect world, he comes in and he has a legit chance to compete and work with Jake Merklinger and push him and, see if they can win that job. But again, at worst case scenario, you just got to get a body. So we'll see who Tennessee, is after, and we'll see what names jump in over the next couple of days.
So answer the first question. Is Jake Merklinger, if he's the guy, can he, what's Tennessee's record? What's the ceiling and what's the floor if they throw Merklinger out there and he's the guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he's ready. He's a redshirt freshman. He had a fantastic spring, really good spring, and this is before Nico. So I'm not just saying this. I mean, go back and read my practice reports. He's worked on his throwing mechanics and everything, and he's made some strides. And I think a lot of oh, what a picture there! Look at the eyes. I think a lot. And Joey Halsey looks about 80 years old behind him. What a picture that is. I think a lot of people are impressed with the improvements that he's made here in the spring. So having said all that, though, I mean, I wouldn't say that you want to give him the keys. I think Tennessee would obviously have to rely on a defense, a run game, just like it did last year with Nico, and just let him kind of manage things and let him kind of grow up on the job. He's got the tools. He's got some tools, but he just doesn't have experience. And, that can hit you like a ton of bricks, your first, big snaps out there. So it's not a situation as we sit here on April the 15th that I would want to be in, but that might be the reality. And so if it is, he's going to have to grow up in a hurry.
And nothing against George McIntyre, but he looks like he needs about 8 Big Macs and 2 years in the weight room to get ready to play in the SEC. He's just frail. He needs time to develop and grow into his body. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I look at the two in-house quarterbacks, and it's like, in a perfect world, both those guys were sitting this year. Like Nico was supposed to be the guy. So that's where, to your point, they got to go get a portal guy. Coming up next, we will jump into some names that are in the portal. Any of them appeal to Eric Cain and the Tennessee fan base? We'll discuss that next. More with Eric Cain in just a second, but first, there is nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with GameTime, you could be a part of all of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. GameTime, they make it fast and easy for you to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. And look, here's why we use GameTime. Last-minute deals, you could save up to 60% off buying last minute for sporting events, concerts, comedy, theater. They're all-in pricing, means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Roll along here, Locked On SEC, Locked On Vols, little crossover edition. And Eric, some names that are in the portal. I'll just run through a few of them, and you just tell me, scale of 1 to 10, do you like the names at all? And the first one I'll throw at you is a name that obviously had some drama when he signed with Florida, ended up at Arizona State.
Arizona State, pass.
Ended up at Georgia this past year. Jaden Rashada. And there's been some discrepancy too. Some folks saying, I think he got in the portal in the first portal cycle, right? So I think if he were to transfer to an SEC school, he would be eligible, because I think it's only if you're in the spring portal transferring to another SEC school. I don't know. I can't get clarity on that. But regardless if he's eligible or not, like you're out on Jaden Rashada altogether.
Yeah, I didn't know that he jumped in the first cycle. So why didn't he have a team yet? What's he doing? Is he at Georgia right now taking classes?
I have no idea. I mean,
anyway, yeah, to your point, I'm out. You can't go, and again, SEC to SEC, so he would have had to have been in the portal before, but you can't go from how this ended with Nico to go with Jaden Rashada. And arguably, if there's not a bigger NIL story than Nico, it's him. And so, you can't do that. So, no, I'm out.
Yeah, this was January 5th. It said Rashada plans to file the paperwork required to enter the portal. So, I don't know. Did he miss that window? The timelines all skew into one another. Yeah. All right, well, some other names. You got Aiden Glover, who was a freshman at Mizzou, who hit the portal. For some reason, some of the rankings are very high on him. I don't know much about him. There's Iowa quarterback James Reeser. And then two guys who just entered the portal this past week. UCF quarterback Dylan Risk, who played for Gus Malzahn and, had a little bit of playing time. And then Trevor Jackson, quarterback at FSU. Again, none of these names are sexy. None of these names are like, oh my God, that's the starting quarterback that Josh Heupel needs. But any of those names interest Vol fans?
I mean, I don't know who those guys are. I mean, if I'm being honest, I mean, I know I've heard the names before, but I don't know anything about them. I haven't researched them yet, Gordy, because I'm still dealing with the aftermath of Nico thing. But I don't think those are real candidates, at least right now. We'll see. I mean, there is. It's hard and there might be. I mean, Tennessee's got some money, man. They got a lot more money now that Nico's not with them. They're gonna have some money. They can go out there and help and get somebody to come quarterback their team. But if I'm a sitting Power 4 starting quarterback, dude, why? Especially if I'm maybe a junior, like contract year, why on earth am I leaving right now? You're putting yourself behind the 8 ball, learning a new system, trying to win the job, win your teammates. It doesn't make sense. What they need is they need a guy like Joe Milton, right? I mean, guy that's got some experience, maybe didn't win the job, whatever, sitting over there backing up at a Power 4, come on down. I mean, that's what he did in 2021. Last I heard before this recording, it could change by the time people listen to it. North Carolina was out on Nico because they're getting some other quarterback. Is Max Johnson on that roster at Carolina?
Yeah, that's their slated starter right now. So so as of this recording, 2 new names just went in the portal last night. There was Wake Forest quarterback Jeremy Heklinski, who has 4 years of eligibility remaining, and then South Alabama quarterback Gio Lopez. And the rumor is Gio Lopez is heading to North Carolina, that Bill Belichick just likes him a lot. And so By the way, this feels weird saying names, like saying Bill Belichick is going after this college quarterback. But if
Bill Belichick finding an underdog from a small school, no way, right?
But the thought is, if Gio Lopez goes to North Carolina and he's going to go win that job, Max Johnson could jump back in the portal and go somewhere else. And of course, Max Johnson, former starter at LSU, former starter at Texas A&M. My biggest problem with Max Johnson is he can't stay healthy. So, but look, the appeal to come, you mentioned like who's going to go in the portal at this point. To me, any of those established quarterbacks that want to, one, come get coached by Josh Heupel because his track record of working with quarterbacks is damn good. And two, I can't beat out Jake Merklinger and McIntyre. Like, yeah, like if I'm an established starter in one of those schools, absolutely. I think I can go beat one of those guys out, and I'm going to get great quarterback development with the coaching.
Yeah, you're right. And also I did my first segment of my Tuesday show about this as well. Like I saw Andy and Ari doing it over at On 3, and I'm like, oh, that's a good topic. I'm probably going to do that as well. But I got to thinking about talking with some buddies. I mean, like, I use the analogy keys to the Ferrari, right? And I understand Tennessee's wide receivers questions, offensive line questions. You lost Dylan Sams and all that. But, like, if you break down this roster, I mean, this is still a win-now roster. This is still a college football playoff roster. The defense is going to be good. The offensive line, in my opinion, is going to be better as long as there's not a fallout from Nico leaving, which I don't think there will be, but we'll see. Wide receivers, you need another body, but to be honest with you, Gordy, hard to be worse than you were last year. So my point is, like, this is still a very good roster. I was on a show the other day, and the guy said, is Tennessee punting on this team? And I almost laughed. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, Tennessee can go win 8 games to Merklinger, in my opinion. That's a conversation for another day. I'm not going to have it right now. But, yes, it is an attractive destination to your point if you want to go do that. And so, yeah, I can see that. It's just, in games the NFL, how much faith you have in yourself to learn all that stuff in a short amount of time. Maybe you do. But, like, a Max Johnson name would intrigue me. Like, if a guy like that jumps in the portal, injuries galore, I hear you, but SEC starting experience, come on down. If you get hurt week 4, Jake Merklinger, let's go, buddy. I mean, that would be a really, really good situation. I'm not saying he's a Heisman Trophy candidate or anything, but based on what you have right now, like, sign me up for a former SEC starter. Yeah, please.
A couple quick hitters for you real quick. Any of these other names, these were message board rumor names, but I mean, I assume if Sam Leavitt decided to say, hey, I'm leaving Arizona State for Tennessee, you'd sign me up for that?
Yes.
What about, I saw Avery Johnson, Kansas State, his name mentioned.
100%, yes.
Okay. Just put it out there. I mean, those guys, look, they're in great positions. Haynes King's name came up at Georgia Tech.
I actually brought up Haynes King on my podcast last week before all this stuff happened, and I kind of dogged him, and somebody jumped in my comments and said, I don't know ball, which is fair. So I guess I have to say no. It's funny. Haynes King was a one-time big-time Tennessee target when Jim Chaney was here. So Haynes King and the Tennessee fan base goes back. But anyway, like, he's got experience, right? And so, like, it'd be hard to turn down based off where you are now. But I would rather have those other guys compared to Haynes King.
Meanwhile, all the Aggie fans are like, look, Tennessee going after our scraps, all our former quarterbacks that are out there. Just a quick hitter. Who's to blame most in this? Is it Nico? Is it his dad? Is it his rep? Who's the most to blame in that group?
I mean, I want to say it's his paparazzi. I want to say it's his people around him. And I will say that. But again, end of the day, Nico did not show up to practice on Friday. Like, at some point, if you wanted to be there, which means to me he didn't want to be there. If you wanted to be there, you need to step up and be like, hey, this is not how we need to handle this. And again, I'm not gonna criticize the kid too much because he is a kid still. But I will say it's the people around him. But end of the day, it was Nico that didn't show up to practice. So it kind of, the buck stops there.
Right. Okay. Moment of truth. Where does Nico end up? You've got, I've heard Tulane now. I mean, it's like UCLA, I think, is still on the table, but, like, I don't know, man. This just starts to feel like he's running out of options because it's like USC they're off the table. North Carolina's off the table. I mean, all these teams are like saying we're not interested.
Yeah. I'm going to, whenever Nico commits, I'm going to talk about it on the show, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we don't care. We don't care. So you got to have finality to it, right? UCLA makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, can UCLA afford him? That's the question. Will Nico be taking a discount this late? I mean, again, beggars can't be choosers at this point. If you want to play football, Tulane would be. I just gotta believe it to see it. Sounds like North Carolina's out. I know, like, Syracuse. Abundant storylines. Like, I saw a leaderboard. I think it was the odds I guess FanDuel put it out there, where Nico's landing next. But I think UCLA makes too much sense. West Coast kid. It's you're not traveling cross country to see your kid play. You're just right down the state or right I don't know where it is in relation to Orange County, but nonetheless, I would say UCLA is kind of what I'm expecting. But we'll see.
Yeah, UCLA is right there in the middle of Beverly Hills, so it's like 30-minute drive probably for his family to come see him.
That would make just too much sense. I don't know their quarterback situation, but I would be willing to bet Nico is probably better. So
and probably go rewind all this, Eric. It's probably where he should have started. He probably just should have stayed home in California and went to one of those schools and stay out in the West Coast. I blame the Pac-12 for falling apart and becoming not a thing anymore. All right, last thing for you, Eric, as we look ahead to this team. I mean, you mentioned Tennessee and expectation. I mean, how are fans feeling right now? Are they kind of? I mean, is this rallying the troops and hey, we love Heupel, we're on board with him no matter what here?
So right now it's we're Tennessee, we're unified. Heupel handled the right way. Heck yeah, that's my coach. I don't want nobody leading my Vols other than him, and that's fair. He did a phenomenal job on Saturday. He did a great job. Like, he was kind, he was courteous. He thanked him because he did like Nico. They had a great relationship, but he said, "Hey, nobody's bigger than the program. That's me. We're gonna find a quarterback that can win." I've won with all different types of quarterbacks. I've lost quarterbacks in week 6. I've lost quarterbacks in the last day of training camp. I've lost quarterbacks in spring practice. And my guys have still gone on to win championships. And I'm like, okay. Like, he's got that fire, and he's so competitive. And that came out on Saturday. But, I think this fan base is pumped and is together right now. And that's awesome. But, depending on who you get at quarterback, you're going to drop a game next year you probably wouldn't have, or whatever the case is. Hopefully that energy stays, because I do think Tennessee did the right thing, and I think a lot of college football agrees. I think Tennessee, full circle moment, he was the poster child for NIL. Maybe he's the course corrector, and I think a lot of people are on Tennessee's side right now, but still doesn't erase. You lost your starting quarterback on April the 12th. Where do you go from here? We'll see, and that's another exciting chapter of the story.
Yeah, they spent 3 years trying to get this defense back on track, and now they got to figure out the quarterback. I mean, that's, it's like you can't just be clicking on all cylinders at one time with everything. He is Eric Cain, locked on Vols, Chris Gordy, locked on SEC, and we'll have more coming up right after this. First one on you guys. If you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accountants' investments and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When we first started using Monarch, realize just how much you're spending on food delivery, and now it'll make you budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. What are you waiting for? Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. That's MONARCH money.com. Use that promo code LOCKEDONCollege. It's going to get you 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Check them out today. All right, roll along here. Locked on SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Appreciate Eric Cain stopping by, talking the latest on the Tennessee drama. We did have some more some transfer portal moves happening last night, of course, with the portal set to open tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Tuesday the 15th, the portal will open on Wednesday the 16th officially, and we're going to have a lot more movement happen in these next couple of days. But first, wanted to touch on some of the names that are in the portal. One of the bigger names that entered the portal last night, Cal running back Jaden Ott entering the portal, and that's from Matt Zenitz at 24/7 Sports. Big name. Auburn fans will remember him because he went up against Auburn the last couple of years, and very successful, good running back at Cal. Jaden Ott, 22 years old, California native. Saw his numbers dip a good bit last year. He was hampered by an ankle injury. Finished the year with just under 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. But obviously the year prior, 2023, 1,300 rushing yards and was one of the best running backs in the Pac-12 that year for the Golden Bears. Also had 900 rushing yards as a freshman in 2022. And Pete Nakos over at On3 is reporting that Oklahoma is the team to watch for Jaden Ott. Now, we've talked about Oklahoma. They have a bevy of running backs in their backfield already. Like basically their whole running back room from last season came back this offseason. It's Javonte Barnes, Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum, Gavin Sawchuk. The list goes on and on of the running backs. So you got to think some of those guys are going to enter the portal if Jaden Ott happens to go there. But of the names we listed, I think Jaden Ott is one of the better names. Like he would probably jump in as the top running back on that depth chart. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that one. But yeah, that would be a big get for Oklahoma, post spring ball to get a bell cow running back like that in Jaden Ott. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Meanwhile, over at Auburn, safety CJ Johnson announcing he will enter the portal. 6'3", 205 pounds, will have 3 years of eligibility remaining. He entered the portal in December, but decided to withdraw his name. And now it looks like he will indeed stick with it and throw his name into the portal. Over at Missouri, edge Joe Moore has entered the portal. He has recorded 5 career sacks. So he is on the move. And by the way, several DBs from Missouri the last couple of days entering the portal as well. So a lot of defensive players on that Mizzou side of things. Over at Kentucky, defensive lineman Kendrick Gilbert plans to enter the portal. He will have 3 years of eligibility remaining. Was a former 4-star recruit, had tons of offers coming out of high school. So keep an eye on that name, Kendrick Gilbert, see where he ends up. Over at Vanderbilt, starting defensive tackle Demarion Thomas entering the portal. 6'2", 320-pound D lineman, had 34 tackles and a sack this past year. He will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. That's a big fella that is available now through the portal. So those are some names that are in the portal. How about coming to the SEC? Yesterday, Stanford transfer wide receiver Emmett Mosley announced he is coming to the Texas Longhorns. He's 6'2", 205 pounds, had 48 catches, 525 yards, and 6 touchdowns as a freshman. Top available wide receiver in the portal, according to On3, will have 3 years of eligibility remaining. So big time pickup there. Look, Texas has done this these last couple of seasons. They bring in Matthew Golden last year. This is just what they do now. So, it's funny. They list this kid 6'2", but you look at him, he looks tiny. He looks like a little slot guy, that'll just kind of play in the slot there for Arch Manning. But, this past year they brought in Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, Silas Bolden. They're all on the way out. You got Ryan Wingo heading into his sophomore year. You got DeAndre Moore heading into his junior year. You brought in a lot of stud freshmen like Jamie French and Khalil Lockett and Dalen McCutcheon, Michael Terry. But you go get a guy like Emmett Mosley, who proved himself last year as a freshman at Stanford. That's a big pickup for Sark and staff. So we'll be interested to see what he does there with Arch Manning. All right, some other names to keep an eye on from around the rest of college football. Miami safety Zaquan Patterson entered the portal. He had 19 tackles as a freshman, played all 13 games as a true freshman for the Hurricanes. Immediately becomes one of the top DBs in the portal. Colorado running back Isaiah Augustov, he entered the portal, was the Buffs' leading rusher in 2024, had almost 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. Miami D lineman Josh Horton, 6'5", 295 pounds, appeared in 8 games in his time with the Hurricanes. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining. NC State wide receiver Dakari Collins entered the portal, had 300 receiving yards this past season. How about SMU running back LJ Johnson? He had 300 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns last season. And then Troy star running back Damian Taylor, a name to keep an eye on, perhaps could end up at an SEC school. 5'11", 220 pounds, had 1,000 yards and 8 total touchdowns last season, received all Sun Belt honors, has 1 year of eligibility remaining. He's a hired assassin. And Damian Taylor, we'll see where he ends up, but very productive career there at Troy. And like we said, should be one of the top guys out there in the portal. Before we close things out here, did want to mention Ole Miss picking up a quarterback last night for the class of 2026, Reese Wise. He's from Austin, Texas, 6'2", 220 pounds, chose Ole Miss over Arizona and Virginia Tech. Posted on social media, excited to be a Rebel. Just kind of funny when you see a guy from Austin, Texas, right down the road from the University of Texas, and not interested in going to Texas, interested in going to Ole Miss. So there you have it. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft Show with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. As your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level. Get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC.